Hey guys, this is Brad Dyke. As promised, I said I would do one hardware review, which I just did. And now I'm going to be doing the Logic View. The Logic View is going to be talking about something that I've been seeing a lot of lately. And it's something that I've had to deal with for many years. And I thought, well, let me pull this bit of knowledge out of my head and put it out here in regards to dealing with a fairly difficult topic. And it usually is a career changer for a lot of people. So basically what I'm going to talk about today is about IT projects, or better yet, IT mountains that you got to migrate, move, rebuild, restage, transition, or whatever. How do you turn an IT mountain into an IT set of molehills is the approach I'm talking about. And the truth of the matter is, each effort, may it be a relocation of a data center from point A to point B by building a new data center with new resources and new tools on new life cycles, and deploying the application systems and pairing them over in cluster sets, and transitioning the old cluster sets into the new cluster sets, and retiring the clusters one node at a time and getting them out of the equation and everything in between, not to mention your replication bridge, your VLANs, your dark fiber, and so on, to get it all set up. And of course it's going to be PCIe compliant, and it's going to be DR required as well. So that means on the back end there's another data center at least 250 miles away that's dark replicating from the primary as a quasi business continuity model. Now, that was a whole bunch of stuff I just threw at you, and you're saying, what? Okay, let's dumb it down a little bit. When you look at it with something you need to move, you have to transition. And let's say Windows Server 2019 to the next version of Windows Server, which is I think 2022 or 2021, whatever it is. It seems like a true task. You have 10 servers or 25 servers or 150 servers or 1,000 servers. The number doesn't matter, believe it or not. It's the model that matters. Everything out there, even if it means rehosting gear from one set of racks to another set of racks, or transitioning from one server operating system to another operating system, or patching, or Apache, or PHP, it all comes down to the basic, simple process of what is truly moving, what is the defined task, and what does that task function as. Okay, what is it today? That's step number 2. Step 1 was, what is it? How does it work today is step 2. And what does it need to do in the future to make the transition? That's step 3. 3 basic steps. Keep it simple, stupid. You have to, and I'll explain why. When you look at a mountain that is huge, and you've got 250 PHP servers you've got to migrate, yes, you do. And you applied the 3 steps. And when you apply the 3 steps, what is it? How's it doing it today? What does it have to do in the future? Then you go to the stage of what's called the test of the transition, and that's step 4. The test of the transition is a misleading name. It's your workshop in a nutshell. It's where you will bring up one simple rendition of what you have today, and you'll build transition model 1, and you will see how well it works. And using best practices, you rebuild the exact same model by restoring your snapshots of that model, just one model, that's all. And you redo it again 2 or 3 or 4 times, using best practice guidelines for making that transition that you need to do. 4 steps. The end result of this gives you one crucial tool, and that is a playbook. A playbook is a culmination of instructions that also have what we call standard operating procedures added to it, that gives you your step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 48 steps from 1 to 48. And that single playbook will be executed against each of your targets on the time frame of increments that you say you want to do. What does that mean? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4 produces a playbook. Okay. The playbook is the golden goose. It gets you from where you were to where you need to be. That's all it does. Then at that point stage, you need what we call a run book. Now, a run book, I'm not teaching you guys anything that isn't Basic 101. Most PMs and project managers know what I'm referring to. A run book is basically the list of the systems that need to have the playbook applied to them to transition them from where they were to where they need to be. So, playbook brings it all together and gives you a plan, like a kind of like a football game playbook. And the run book says, well, I have 92 targets out there, and of them, they're broken up in test, QA, that's quality and control, or quality assurance, and production. Okay? And the playbook shows you the stuff you can start to play with and test and run your playbook on the test gear. That's the gear that the customers don't use. You cut your teeth on that. But again, let's go back to the basics. You did the 4 steps. You have a playbook. You have a list of your targets, and you've itemized the list by lowest to highest priority, the highest being the last. And you start with the least. You make a block of those, and those need to run so that you can do so many of these deployments at once. First, you do 1 at a time. Then you do some automation in your scripting. Maybe you can do 5 or 10, or you can do them all at once. So if you've got 100 of them, you've got, let's say, 25 in test, 50 in quality, and 25 in production. That's your 3-in-1 policy. Your test, everything goes through test. It's QA'd before it ever goes to production. So with that strategy, you're taking the model and you're cutting your teeth. You're learning how to do this well. And you didn't have to be an SME to start with, by the way. This is a cost-effective solution because SMEs are expensive. I know, I was one of them. So at this point stage, you become good at this in test. And that then allows you to say, okay, we have a process for the playbook. The playbook has been completely vetted, and it works. And we've added to it from lessons learned from test. Now we're going into quality. We're going to initiate a deployment from step 1 to step 48. Nothing else will happen. Execute, completed, done. All 50 nodes went over at once. QA goes in. They do their evaluations to make sure the quality and the performance and the metrics that are required are successful and they match what we expect to be in production. And now you're done. Go for your 25 nodes in the last part of your run book and transition them in a scheduled maintenance window where all the customers are aware, maybe 30, 60 day, 90 day, whatever requirement they might be, including your SLAs and MOU agreements that you might have to have or meet requirement-wise to accomplish these things. This is how you do it. Now, caveat. When you're going through this process, you learn some things about playbooks. Playbooks are useless if you don't have SOPs. The playbooks walk you through each itemized step to execute. SOPs are the executions themselves. For instance, if you're going through the playbook and you have cron jobs running out there, you have to go and say, refer to stop cron job process SOP. And you click the link and it comes right up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Okay, all jobs are stopped. Move to the next step. And there's another SOP maybe. About every 3 or 4 lines down, you might have an SOP that you have to have. So, to be effective in this kind of strategy, after you try this the first time, my suggestion is use a tool like Altizen, or Altizen, I think is what it's called, which provides a consolidation documentation tool for living documents, which is called Confluence. And you would also want to maybe use a ticketing process to support your tickets, or actual what we call levels of completion in a playbook. Tickets to completions, basically. What does that mean? Well, DevOps does this without you. It's more autonomous, more automatic, if it's truly in its environment. But what about everything else? Well, this is how that would work for everything else. When you're getting ready to do a project get yourself a tool like Confluence, your CMDB platform like HP Help Desk, or you can use Jira or whatever. You're going to need one of those too. When you create a playbook, you create a master ticket. And the master ticket just is a task of the playbook. Put that there. Then most CMDB platforms, including Jira, can create what's called subtask tickets below the parent ticket, or what we call the task effort. The task effort is the grand scheme of things, the epic or the storyline. This isn't software coding. This is, this is environment. So I'm making references to that. But the task effort is the overall goal. The subtasks are the steps. So even though you might have 48 steps in a playbook, you'll probably have 6 or 7 tickets to support it. And then if you are doing the test, quality, and production deployment strategy, there'll be 6 tickets times 3. You'll do this 6 times for test and lessons learned, and then you'll do around the same again for quality, but it'll include quality efforts and steps, and then you'll do it for production. And it'll be fewer tickets. It'll be very lean, very clean, and you don't have to worry about certain things that you did with test and quality. But they support the project, the goal, the migration, the transition. Great co-support tool that I recommend for this. By the way, this is not CI/CD. To be CI/CD, to do continuous integration and continuous distribution, you would have to have a much more structured engine, as we call it, that would engage these processes outside of you. And eventually, because you have the engine and every single process is defined, this is a better version of the the 101 I just showed you. But the magic sauce to this is, which is different than doing what I just showed you, the 4 to the playbook, to the run book, is that every step has to be identified, choreographed correctly, so it could be then embedded into an automation script later. You don't have variables when you automate your processes, hence the word continuous distribution. We just feed the machine sends it right out the door, and it says, okay, what's the next update, and so on. So what the gist of this is if you're a lowly person who's in charge of a building, of a facility, wherever it may be, and it's just 1 or 2 of you, how do you move the mountain? This is the way you do it. One simple shovel at a time, making them little molehills. And now it's not a mountain. Now it's doable. Now you can see when you can take a break and enjoy your weekends, instead of distressing on the numbers, the values, the execution windows, and all of that. None of that's necessary here. What is necessary is methodicalism, and you got to be good at it. You don't have to do it all the time, but that leads us to the last critical tiny detail here that gets every one of us in this industry. I don't care who you are. I don't care how good you are. You will eventually fall out of your game, and you will also eventually get into your game. That's part of life. And it's this. I've worked in different environments, from military to commercial to government to COTS to GOTS and so on and so on. And the definitive value I can genuinely say to everybody out there is every single customer is different. Which means outside of best practices, that's really all you have. It's just, even if you're using the same product lines as other companies, how you do it is unique. That's what makes you who you are. That's what makes your company what they are, and a company that people want to buy from because they've got the product I need, right? And so you really have to be careful when you go forward on that. The principal problem with that is that once you move the mountain, once you got it over the fence, you got to go back and do it again. And by the way, you have to do it several times, and each of them are going to be different. Whoa, 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 whoa! Doesn't that make this the mountain again? No, it doesn't. Here's why. When you're working with your environments, if you're thinking IT, then most of you are thinking either as services from code or infrastructure to production or from resources to profitability. Now, just depending on where your brain is. But the bottom line is, when you look at your transitions, you want to make sure that you build your foundation first. What does that mean? Well, you just don't arbitrarily move something. And you can do that with email systems, something like that. Or let's say secure FTP. Those are minor, but you might have a whole bunch of them. Playbook strategy works great for that. But when you look at your picture, step back, step away. Instead of being 15 feet in front of this, go out to 150 feet and look at the forest and see the greater scheme of things. Take the things that need to be transitioned, put them on the board. Find out what of those are primary foundational services and protocols that must be done first. Okay, we're getting a pick list. Okay, that's great. Now it's making sense. I can't do any of this upper echelon code stuff until I get my my protocols up to the latest releases. May it be PHP code or your tier structure, your cron environments, your Jenkins or GitHub, whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is, most of the time when this comes to the fruition, the realization is there are specific things we can tackle now. They're smaller, they're fewer, and we have to transition them up to the next release first. Then who are the next? Okay, these two are next, these three are after that, 4 are left, and then now we can start changing our product. Okay, great. Well, you just successfully transitioned from .NET to PHP, or you've gone from ADS, Microsoft, to open source LDAP. You see what I'm saying? And all of the minutia that's out there. But the Piclic strategy gives you the advantage you need to do. Now, did you notice that I didn't start with that first? I think some of you would say, wait a minute, why wouldn't I want to take a step back and look at this holistic forest, like I said, and then worry about 101? Well, because you wouldn't understand it. That's why. Doing a 101 transition, let's say for something simple like a protocol, or a release, an OS release, or a Linux code stack, or something like that, gives you the very basic cores to tell you where are your pain points. Now, the 101 lesson should only have to be done once for your teams, and you share that information with everybody in the team. Then you step back as a team, and everybody's on the same page, and they are back 150 feet. Now they're looking at the forest, and we're all shaking our heads saying, I get it now. We have 16 101s here we have to deploy. And if we do it right, and we can do the 48-step playbook process, we can do those transitions in, well, 45 transition deployment windows, which is not that much. The normal deployment window for these kind of transactions are usually 18 to 36 months in transition if you're an enterprise level company. It would be 12 to 24 months if you're a medium-sized to small company. These resources are important. And I am so serious about getting all of your players on your teams speaking and seeing the same language when you kind of look at this stuff, because then the confusion is less, and the slippage of the schedules aren't so bad. Initially it's bad at the test level because we're just learning. Plan for it. Give yourself some space and breathing space. Do it the right way, so when it's time to replicate it, boom, 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 boom. But by the time you've finished your first series of transitions, now you're ready to introduce CI/CD or DevOps into your operations environment. Now, one last mistake that's happening in some companies these days, and that is, remember, getting your IT operations environment, which has many things in it. It's got coders, it's got deployers, it's got everything in it, infrastructure, resources, and so on. There'll be a heartbeat that's going to be part of that. But it doesn't replace operations. It's just a discipline that makes operations run more efficiently with fewer resources, disseminates information better, and can be automated. And that is CI/CD, or continuous integration and continuous distribution by automation, also referred to as DevOps. Not everything can be automated, but everything needs to gel. And DevOps is in the middle. You're right in this area here, and there are things that before and things that are after that have to happen, and your normal operations, which is sustainment. That is not DevOps. DevOps does not maintain anything. They focus on transitioning, deploying code, deploying patches, deploying security updates, and so on and so on and so on. But in the holistic approach, it's a much cleaner, more resilient, lessons learned of years upon years, opposed to just an introduction of a new process, which we've seen as well. This is taking all the benefits of ITIL and NBAC and Black Sigma and some of my other disciplines, and 15 or 20 or 30 years of just doing this, and bringing it into a more cohesive structure. So all of your people are your SMEs. And the last piece of advice I give at the end of this is directed to all the directors and VPs who might have interest in knowing about this as well. And that is, in this environment, there is no expert. There isn't. When you do your job well, you have no time to learn something new. And the reason why is because our environments today are most overall, holistically, transitioning faster than most of our experts can do and do well. What ends up happening is we can do. And if we have a protocol or a service or a tool or whatever, vice presidents and directors, you're only going to learn 16 to 18% of the full functionality of that tool before you're moving it off into another tool. That's truth, because it moves so fast. The technology flipovers are happening so quickly that it turns over our product releases, our code releases, and everything like that to a point where eventually we'll always be on the learning curve side opposed to being on the SME side. That's just part of progress. And the very first thing I say to the vice presidents of operation and director of operations and so on is this: it's okay. Take a breath of air. Look at it the way I said. 101. We introduce it, we test it, we then become good at it by doing the testing. And we build it to what we need. We don't need to be experts on everything because we don't use everything that these tools can offer. They don't fit our profile or the product lines. That's an important detail. Take a breather. Step back, says, okay, this makes sense to me now. I get it. I can take this in small chunks, turn them into molehills, and we can get rid of that mountain. And that is just from my role as in leadership, as well as doing the deployments. And in my case, I'm doing both now. The reality is very sobering when you just have to say, you know, we just learned this tool and now we're getting off of it. Or we just got the protocol finalized and it's fully secured now and now we got to go to the next release. Yeah, because we're going that way. We're going down the road, and we need to schedule breathers. We need to let our people have a process that allows them to become, again, that SME they were not just 6 months ago, and keep moving forward. I think everybody else out there understands that pressure. You know, just as soon as you become fairly efficient on something, now you've got to be efficient on something else. I will tell you, with my 33, 34 years of experience, actually no, I will tell you with my 40 years of my doing anything, that's always the case. It always has been that case. You can't sit still, but you can streamline the process so it can move at a pace, and at a pace that keeps your people sharp, keeps all of them on the same base, and we can avoid single points of failure by having a guru here and a guru there. We all have felt that pain as well. Well, this is Brad Dyke. I'm going to sign off on this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is a logic video discussion we're having here, and pulling things out of my brain and sharing it with everybody else out there so that we can share the knowledge. Not everything fits well, and I'm sure there might be some things that say, you know what, Brad, that doesn't jive with what I do. Sorry, I try. Please, if you have any comments, and if you like, please like, and God bless, and have a great weekend.